Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Final Fantasy VII. In the last part, we finished off Disc 1 with the pretty heavy loss. And with new determination to avenge her in mind, thankfully we have an idea where to go thanks to weird convenient Deus Ex Machina flashback. Thankfully, either way, there's only really one direction you could head at this point, but I should note at this point, there is a new Fort Condor battle available that's not the same as the one from the very end of Disc 1. It gives you 3 elixirs.
How is anyone supposed to know that?
I don't know. The Fort Condor stuff is kind of dumb in this game. Now, I should note one thing about this game, for people who aren't familiar with it. I believe we've mentioned before that this game is 3 discs long. And for people unfamiliar with the game who look at the fact that we finished Disc 1, 20 parts in, they might think, oh god, this LP is going to be like 60 videos long. No. Not even 2/3 of that. The thing is with the Final Fantasy PS1 games is that their lengths have some major discrepancies in length, all depending on the amount of enemies, the amount of unique cutscenes, and especially the amount of FMVs. Disc 1 of Final Fantasy VII is the longest disc in the game. I'd say it's roughly between 60 to 65% of the game, although with editing for this LP, I think it's around 57% of it. We're not going to be here for 60 parts. But we do have
I think it's only 30-something parts, which is nice.
Yeah, we're over the halfway point.
Yeah, if you finish Disc 1, you're halfway through the game at this point.
Yeah.
And it seems like losing someone at the end of Disc 1 seems like a crazy early death, but in this case it's forgivable because of how much Disc 1 is of the actual game.
Yeah. And that was the Acrophy's enemy, by the way, 2400 HP, 1200 gil, 800 XP, 90 AP. No notable elemental weaknesses. You can steal water rings from them, which I believe can be good for money, but that might be another ring I'm thinking of, and they can't drop or be morphed into anything.
Poison ring sells for the most, I think. Like 20... Oh, I want to say 2,500 apiece. I could look that up.
Yeah, you might keep in mind, I could just do the usual thing and make a little thing boop up out of the bottom of the screen. There we got the Hypno Crown, by the way, which if you're having trouble manipulating enemies to get enemy skills, that's going to help you out because that accessory increases the likelihood of manipulate working. And speaking of gil, by the way, what the hell is with 12's gil system?
Yeah, this game is... It's a game where you're not going to have a lot of money issues, but in 12 you're going to have serious money issues because the bazaar system is like, hey, you just gave me a bunch of loot. I made something. Now pay 800,000 gil for it, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, in Final Fantasy X you can get some money problems. In 9, if you don't do the cotton robe trick, you might have some money problems.
I recall 13 and 15 having some money issues as well.
I can't say because I haven't played 15 yet, which I should. I will.
15 is really
point.
good, especially with the sort of Game of the Year edition out, the Royal Edition, with all the DLC out now. There's a lot of good stuff there. I think the writing can be a bit inconsistent, but I think the overall game is solid. Think about that. What's the inverse? What's the Final Fantasy where you have the least money problems? I want to say that might be 4.
4, 6.
Or 6.
6, you don't have a lot of money problems. 7, honestly. You don't need money a whole lot in this game.
Yeah.
Actually, also 8, because weapon upgrades are inexpensive.
Yeah.
Okay, so funny little thing about this bunny here, he holds his carrot like a weapon.
I've never noticed that.
And he has 999 HP, 400 XP, 30 AP, 50 gil... drops a high potion and morphs into an Antarctic wind. Note that this guy is the only source of Antarctic winds, apart from, like, the gold saucer. So if you're looking for those for whatever reason, these are probably the best way to get them.
Yeah, and I should note, at this point, if you have anything you want to do in the world that you haven't done yet, like the Wutai side quest, I recommend going to do that now, because within the next, like, 15 minutes, there's going to be a temporary point of no return, and you want to go do that now. And here we have Bandersnatches, or singular Bandersnatch. 860 HP, 510 experience points, 40 AP, 600 gil, weak to fire, but takes half damage from ice. You can't steal anything from them, but they can drop high potions and be morphed into ice crystals, which I believe is Ice 3. Notable like their cousins, the Nibel Wolves, back towards Nibelheim, I believe they can use Howling to summon more of themselves up to 3 times. And with that, welcome to one of my favorite towns in the game. This is Icicle Inn. I love this place's look. I've always loved the kind of cozy, sort of mountain area house.
Man, you should come visit me. There's mountains over here. Come during the winter. It's snowy.
We got the Appalachians up here, man.
Heck yeah.
And we do want to buy essentially one of every item here. I accidentally bought 2 micro lasers for Barrett, so I'm gonna need to take care of that off screen, but oh well.
Speaking of money problems, yikes. That was 10,000. That was 10,000 gil down the drain.
Yep. And we want to talk to everyone here, really, just because we got some nice little lore stuff. Though I'm not sure why you would want to come to here to snowboard in your swimsuits, might I add.
Yeah, that person's here from Costa del Sol, probably. Wanted to chill. Maybe a bit.
They'll definitely be chilling in that.
Maybe a bit too much.
When people from Florida move to Massachusetts.
Yikes.
That's our story. Well, I love it up here. I grew up here, but my brother... Oh, did I ever tell you about the story where my brother, the first winter we were up here, wore flip-flops in the snow?
What?
Yeah, he was kind of stubborn about that.
That's amazing. What?
Yeah, that wasn't one of his smartest choices. The bar here is where you're gonna find the most lore stuff that you're going on here. Like the barkeep tells us about a lady who doesn't like hot spring water and such. This guy tells us to go to Holzoff's house to get a map, so on and so forth. One thing I do find kind of odd though is the music shift, because we go from the really nice and calming Icicle Inn theme to this. Does not fit a bar in my eyes.
We need something like Out of the Frying Pan from Final Fantasy IX. Now that is good bar music.
Yes. I'm also kind of fond of, what was it, Johnny C. Bad, the bar theme from 6? That's clearly Johnny Be Good.
Oh yeah. That's actually a very great theme to think about here. I didn't even think on that one.
Yeah, just a weird little jarring musical shift. Now let's head into this house here. This is Holzoff's house. We want to grab a couple of things here. First off, there's that map here. There's a couple of items in the top left, but most importantly, there's a cat.
Kitten! I'm allergic to cats. I'm sad.
Wait, you are?
Yes. We've known each other for like 5 or 7 years at this point, and now you know that I'm allergic to cats. I'm crying. What the heck? I love cats. I'm not like deathly allergic though. I just get like kind of sick if I'm around one for super long. Like if they rub against my,
kind of like weeping eyes and something.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's me with dust. What the hell, man? I've known you for like 7 years, and I didn't know you were allergic to
cats.
Yeah,
it's not like deathly sick or whatever. That's my parents. They get like horribly sick, but it's like if the cat rubs on my face, I just get kind of irritated, and I might be sick the next day. My sister's cat sheds a fair amount, so I just gotta be sure to wash my hands a lot.
I get a similar reaction from like an obscene amount of cat hair. Like over at my sister Carrie's place, her 2 cats shed all over everything, and my eyes are weeping for like the next day after I'm there. But yeah, like around my own cat, I'm completely fine.
That's because your cat is a good cat that doesn't like getting you sick.
It's also just the amount of stuff around me. Like, I think it's less the fact that I'm allergic to cats, because I don't think I am. It's just that getting that much hair or dandruff in your eyes or nose is going to cause problems anyway.
Shoutouts to Zelda.
Yeah. She's 6 years old this year.
Oh, cute.
June or July 2013 is when we found her. Either way, focusing on the stuff. That one party of people back at the bar mentioned that a Cetra used to be here named Afalna, and we already know that name and this model. This is Aerith's mom, and she's talking to this professor dude about ancients. Apparently, the wound to the planet that Genova caused has been known about for years by the Cetra, and they tried investigating it right off the bat. And something that they bring up here that I think they could have done more with is an idea that Genova spread this virus, which I guess could be Genova cells or some sort of domain over them, that caused them to mutate into monsters of sorts. I think they could have done something more with that with the boss fights, like, say, maybe an optional chain of boss fights based off ancients or something. But they never really do unless they just imply that most monsters are reincarnated ancients.
Yeah, that... I'd like to think of it kind of like the Final Fantasy X thing, where it's like... You're supposed to send the Pyrefly, like, send the dead to the far plane. If not, their Pyreflies condense into fiends that prey on the living because they envy the living. Something kind of akin to that, almost.
Yeah. I'm wondering how much of this, though, like the problems we're having trying to figure stuff out, is based off just the game's writing not being technically complete in that regard or explored well, or if it's the translation. Because I know there's like some video series out there that's compared like the English to the Japanese translation, like the changes to Barrett's character, the entire way that Eric's character is treated, so on and so forth. But I have not watched that because it's like 6 hours long from start to finish. And this is probably the more prevalent of the two. This time, Ifana's going to comment on weapon. Essentially, after Genova's calamity, the planet got extremely damaged. To prevent that from happening again, the planet created a sort of antibody defense system known as weapon to prevent this kind of stuff from ever happening. It's never been used because, obviously, we've never had another Genova thing happen. But they imply heavily that if it ever got activated, it could be catastrophic.
So, let me get this straight. Genova is basically Final Fantasy VII's version of Lavos, because it's an alien that descends upon the Earth and completely just like decimates it and destroys almost all life on the planet. And then the planet gets mad and creates a defense system.
In a couple of ways, yeah. I'm trying to remember. Did Katase work on Chrono Trigger?
I'd have to look that up because I actually don't know the answer to that question. But I wouldn't be surprised if the answer is yes, considering the parallel that does exist.
They probably were also developed somewhat in tandem, if I had to guess.
I just thought of something funny. Chrono has spiky hair. Cloud has spiky hair. Alternate universe confirmed.
Cloud is a Super Saiyan confirmed. And here we see that Aerith is from Icicle Inn. Ifana had her here. And something I want to bring up that I wanted to bring up earlier, but I just never thought to. I like these videotape scenes, but I think they could have used some music. Particularly with that one, they could have started playing Aerith's theme or the Flower Girl theme from like Elmira's house. And during like the main ones, they could have maybe had the Temple of the Ancients theme or something.
I was thinking doing like Vincent's theme because of how ambient it sounds. The only issue with that is that Vincent has nothing to do with this apart from being part of the Turks.
Yeah. It's one of those things that like, yeah, the music will be fitting, but like it's a character's theme.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope we get more scenes regarding these characters in the remake, just because there's a lot here I think they could tell. And while, yeah, there's the obvious thing of like storytelling rule of sometimes show, don't tell. But I think more with these characters couldn't hurt. Although I just remember, didn't those guys at the table say that Ifana was taken away by Shinra?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Yikes. That's not good.
Oh, boy. Oh, young Hojo. Holy shit.
What are you doing here?
And this is where we learn that this professor here is Professor Gas, the one that Sephiroth and I think a couple other characters mentioned throughout the game thus far, who is clearly the better, well-meaning professor, but we never really get to know much about him beyond that, especially the whole Sephiroth relationship. Because they imply that I guess he was supposed to be his mentor or something, but we just never learn about it.
So, clearly Hojo is evil, but is young Hojo more evil than old Hojo, do you think?
I mean, I want to say the joking answer and just say yes, like to both of them being as equally evil. But I wouldn't be surprised if some implication is that working with Genova cells for all the years he did may have screwed him up.
Man, that sounds like Kefka and Magitech. Yikes.
Actually.
What is with the parallels that we're drawing here? That's crazy.
Well, keep in mind, it's also the thing of we played these games a lot, so we're reading probably more into it than we should.
Yeah, you're right.
It's that whole thing of it's not that deep, bro.
Overanalyzing things is what I do. H.
And here I have my team set up. I went out of the town to go and just change everyone around. You're going to want some ice protection coming up because we're in an ice area, no shit. I have, I believe, cover counterattack on Tifa right now to work on her limit breaks, so you're going to want to work on Sid's limit breaks as well because even unless you did some obscene grinding at this point, he's going to be behind anyway. And this caused me an issue in recording. Because the point of no return is coming up. If you have anything to do, I believe right now is your last opportunity to leave and go do it. And I forgot that it was right now, so I had to re-record the entire, first third of this video.
Oh, that sounds unpleasant.
Yeah, that was annoying. Enemy skill, as usual, is going to be useful. I have Odin and such on just for the sake of having them on, really. I know some people probably wouldn't put, additional materia on that they don't need, just so they don't lose any MP or HP, but for me, I don't really give a shit. The losses are very minor.
Yeah, if you have, this is what I would personally do. If you have, I primarily use Cloud as a physical attacker, for example. I don't really have him use magic a whole lot. I save that for, Tifa and Red. But, if you want Cloud to be dealing extra damage, you could have Elemental and Fire on his weapon.
Yeah.
So that would be a good setup to have. Oh, hi, Elena.
Hello? You
That
guys
is
are an
good.
extreme close-up. They supposed to be standing on a hill or something?
And they teleport. Nice.
Yep. And now, I mentioned it back at the Temple of the Ancients, where after that scene with Sung, we never see him in the game, and it made me think he died when he was younger. Elena's line right there reinforced that when I was younger, because you don't really say doing in my boss like that unless the person is dead. But he's not, which makes me think, again, this could be something lost in translation, or maybe they implied for Sung to die at some point or another.
I actually didn't know if it was confirmed or not that he died.
And you can dodge her punch. Doing so doesn't really change anything. You just have to hold left to do that. I think holding up or right makes you still get hit, but I have always just held left, so yeah. Getting punched here just makes you fall unconscious and you wake up with no HP lost or anything. It's just for comedy's sake.
Sometimes I like letting her punch me just because it's funny to watch her topple down the hill, but I like to give her a chance for redemption because
a rare win.
She screws up so much. You gotta give her a chance at least once.
Yeah. We need to grab this kid's snowboard, though, because we need to head down that thing. And thankfully, because he hurt himself, he's very willing to give it to us for free, which is kind of odd. I'm surprised the parents like, you gave your snowboard away for free? But no, I'm not.
We could have made some good money off that, darn it.
Yeah, but now that we've seen that Elena scene, you can no longer leave Icicle Inn because these Shinra guards are here. You cannot get past them no matter what. This is a point of no return for the next little bit. So with that, I guess now let's head into the Great Glacier area.
Great Glacier area is both one of my favorite and one of my least favorite places in the game. There's some awesome aspects about it, but there's also some horrible aspects about it. This is one of the bad aspects about it, because I don't like snowboarding minigames.
Yeah, we have this weird little snowboarding minigame that feels kind of oddly placed, especially without any music here. We just get this atmospheric wind effect. You can get balloons and take some jumps around here, but that's pointless for this portion of it. That's just there for the gold saucer incarnation, where I believe getting over a certain point threshold gets you a certain type of source. I don't know what they are off the top of my head. I'll probably just post them on the video as I usually tend to do.
I think it'd be really cool if, depending on how many balloons you got, you actually got like an additional amount of gil in your.
Yeah, that could have been. I mean, that wouldn't make any sense, like in universe, but like as a game, that would be helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
I believe time also plays a bit into that, but I'm not entirely sure. But I should note that I believe this is one of the few portions of the game that runs at a higher frame rate. I think this runs straight up at 60 here, which for a game that I think usually runs at 30 is a bit odd. I'm not sure if the PC version changes that, because I know the PC version runs a bit more of the game at 60 frames, like battle transitions and menus, but I'm not sure about this. The biggest annoyance is that the snowboard does not control that well, and when you're at speed, even touching something slightly will send you back.
And there's moments where, like, you can tell that there's not a whole lot of realism here, for obvious reasons. It is Final Fantasy, after all. But there's times when Cloud's going, like, 80 kilometers an hour, and he hits a tree, and he gets up like nothing happened.
Yeah.
I guess, to be fair, he was infused with Mako, so, yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't save the others.
Oh yeah, they're all riding on his back, aren't they?
I mean, wait, no, we could probably logic this. Barrett's a big badass. Tifa's a martial artist master. Yuffie's a ninja. Vincent's whatever the hell he is.
He's a vampire.
Red's a dog. Sid's the only one who should really be getting hurt.
Red is a dog. Interesting. I guess, actually, yeah, he's a dog that lives a long time, so he's got to be at least a little strong.
Also, a little trick I learned from watching a speedrun of this game. If you hold to the very left here and you touch the extreme left row of trees, you will not get knocked down. Instead, you'll actually avoid getting hit by anything else unless you just press slightly right enough that you slowly drift right and then you just go, ow. A thing to note about this section, though, is that there are some forks in it. And depending on which combination you go, in the 3 forks I think there are, the first one, then the 2 on either side, you end up in a different location in the next area. For the area I want to go to in this next portion, I want to take left at both of the forks. Also, random, like, Great Wall of China layout.
That's a new one. I've never seen that before.
I think when you play this in the Gold Saucer, the different forks give different hazards in the way and potentially different points. Like, the first left is this little canyon area with the rolling snowballs, and the second left, I think, with this pathway at least, is a bunch of, like, chocobo snowmen. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. I don't even think I ever go and do the Gold Saucer incarnation. I think the only reason I showed off the Gold Saucer version of Crazy Motorcycle is so I could talk about the fact that you can play some little mini game sections as mini games later on to get stuff.
Still,
I do like the way the snow looks, though.
it doesn't forgive how much I don't like the snowboarding thing. I think my slowest time ever was like 10 minutes. I was so bad at it.
Yeah, you know what? I can understand that, especially if you hit certain corners well enough. I think you can use the shoulder buttons to drift a little bit. I might be making that up. I might be thinking of like one of the SSX games or something stupid. Either way, now we are in Great Glacier proper, and this area plays out a bit like, a random part of wilderness that you don't know where you're going in. It's a bit of a labyrinth. You have the map with the square button, and that gives you a good idea of where things are. Like, for instance, right now, we spawned right here because we took 2 lefts. But between the unique areas in the Great Glacier, there are a bunch of very similar-looking areas to kind of get you confused. And map orientation isn't quite a thing here. For instance, heading right on one screen might actually put you farther to the left on the map.
This teaches some vital map readings. Well, doesn't really, but it could help, I guess. So, this enemy's called a Frozen Nail. 1300 HP, 520 XP, 50 AP, 800 gil. No drops, no steals, no morphs. All you get out of it is a decent sum of money.
Yep. And it's, speaking of Frozen, because I believe that's the name of that enemy, that plays into another part of the Great Glacier. There's a pseudo time limit. You have 544 steps to grab as many items as you can. You can also try to find the exit in that time period. However, when you run out of steps, you're sent to the end goal anyway. So my goal is to grab as many items as I can in one trip here. I'll be coming back here at the beginning of the next part to grab the last couple of items. But you can just get through here, try to get here as quickly as you can, basically. And we have our next enemy. This is Snow. 4,000 HP, 500 experience points, 42 AP, 700 gil. Weak to fire, but absorbs ice. You can steal a circlet from them, and they can drop ice crystals. They can also use various ice attacks and Fascination to try and confuse you.
And I think Fascination works on any character in this game?
Yes, I think certain other RPGs, like I know Dragon Quest doesn't attack like this, will only have attacks like this work on like male characters or female characters. But here, I think it's just straight up.
I've actually never seen a masculine foe in any Final Fantasy game use Entice and have it work on a female character. I don't think I've ever seen that.
When it comes to attacks like that, I immediately think of Attract in Pokemon.
Yeah, that's definitely a good way of looking at it.
There are some ways to mitigate the time limit around here. Like there's this one hot springs we're going to touch later on that I believe extends your time a little bit.
Those ice golems are so tiny and adorable. But they're tanky. They have 4,000 HP, 1,000 experience points, 70 AP, 1,500 gil. They absorb ice, but they don't have any actual elemental weaknesses. They have a very large move pool, but I think it's because it's like they're trying to get a little closer to you, and then they can use their Megaton Punch, which deals a hefty amount of damage. You can steal high potions from them, and they drop high potions, but they don't have any morphs. So pretty vanilla overall. In fact, they might be like watered down Tonberries.
I do believe when it comes to the time limit, by the way, and this is the last time we're probably going to be talking about this, there are two ways you can go around it as well. If you get back to Icicle Inn, which is at the extreme west of the area, you can enter it or go through the snowboard minigame again, and whenever you enter from those two things, your step count resets. As well, at the area where you are sent, or your goal, rather, where you're sent if you pass out, your step count is counted, but you can't pass out over there. So if you theoretically take enough steps, I'm talking like over 32,000, you can rewind the step count integer into the negatives and theoretically have no time limit. But at that point, you're just better off entering and re-exiting over and over again. Also, by the way, we got the safety bit there. That is an accessory that I believe prevents instant death.
Safety bit is a very good item in most of the games where it appears. I think it's especially good in 6, because...
6 is probably the most useful version of it. This little puzzle, by the way, works fairly simply. Whenever you jump on a platform, the platforms around it sink or rise, depending on what state they're already in. Get to one end or the other. I don't think that counts for your step count, but don't quote me on that.
I actually didn't know that there was a step counter, because I always got there within the step limit, I guess.
I used to just go right for the goal, but once I learned what important items there are around here, I decided to go more for that than anything.
Yeah.
This area is an interesting idea. For instance, right now, this is one of the few times where the map is actually accurate. We're right there at that tree on the center to the right, and now we want to head east. But the annoying thing is, I think this is technically a temporary area. I think if you progress too far in Disc 3, or Disc 2, that you can no longer access this place. I think.
Oh. I've actually never tried that. I'll have to experiment with that sometime.
And this area in particular is one of the more annoying ones. It looks like there's only 4 pathways, but I believe up here at the top, there are 2 pathways you can take. I'm not sure if it's dictated by the little lump in the road that I'm on right now, but I want to say it might be whether or not, depending on not you're holding, like, up, left, or right. I forget which one I take, but it's this screen you want to roughly come to, and you'll know which one you're on, because on the second screen, there's a very well-hidden materia right here. That is the added cut materia. That adds, I believe, an attack to anything you support it with. Like, say, you can do fire, then an attack. Very useful. Especially because that means you can do, one of my favorite setups with it is Death Blow added cut, where, say I have that on Vincent with the 255 accuracy weapon. I could hit the Death Blow, or miss it, and I'll still get an extra attack in. And the next enemy is Shred. This has 900 HP, 500 experience points, 40 AP, 950 gil, weak to fire, but immune to ice, earth, and water. It also takes double damage from wind. Doesn't have anything to steal or be morphed into, but they can drop ethers, and they can use Cure 3 on their compatriots.
You could use the mirror if you wanted to get that healing on yourself, but one, it probably isn't going to heal much, and two, probably better spent somewhere else, to be quite honest.
Yeah, mirrors are potentially useful items, but I don't tend to use battle items in this game anyway. The only Final Fantasies I find myself reliably using battle items are probably 4 and 5. Occasionally 9, depending on what they are. And now we have this little section. I believe this is supposed to be towards the northwest of the area. What's happening here is that whenever you move forward, eventually there's a little snowstorm, and that completely screws around your camera and control. So you're supposed to mash the X or the circle button to place down those landmarks so you can take a good guess at where your orientation is.
For the longest time, I never knew there was a cave right here.
It's surprisingly well hidden. The all Materia is not the most worth it, but I'll take any I can get. And now I want to head directly east, because the last item I can generally get on the first little time bar is in this general direction. I do have to say, though, I mentioned it back in Icicle Inn. I love this song. It's a bit short and repetitive, but it's the usual thing of ice music's generally just really pretty.
I think one of my favorite ice themes belongs to, probably an unpopular choice, but Mega Man 02.
Oh, the Polar Cameros theme?
The Polar, yep.
Oh, yeah, that sounds good.
It's a really good one. Ooh, a little cave.
02 is probably my least favorite out of that little tetralogy, but it's still a good game. Hello, random lady. This is the one the barkeep talked about that didn't like hot spring water. And for some reason, she gets the boss music, even though she's just another one of those snow enemies.
You have a lot of nerve trying to touch me with those dirty hands, prepared to die. What?
Yeah, I don't get it either. Either way, just use beta and then a physical attack and it'll probably be good.
So if you don't touch the hot spring, she's not going to be there?
No, she'll be there. I think she's there, but she just doesn't react to you.
Huh.
You might be wondering why we're doing this. Well, we get a fairly worthwhile Materia for beating her. Not that that's much of a challenge, but this is one of those Materia that's very easily missed.
I know for a fact that I've missed it quite a couple times.
I believe, by the way, if you lose to this fight, it's not a game over. You just get sent to the end of the area with 1 HP.
Huh.
And for defeating her, we get the Alexander Summon Materia. I believe it's the one holy elemental summon in the game, and it does extreme damage.
Whew.
Not extreme, just very good damage. By the way, that's where we are, and that's Icicle Inn to the far west. We've come a long way, and my goal now is to hopefully get towards Icicle Inn, because there's one of the last items is around that area. However, at this point, it's unlikely, because my step count is getting rather low, and I don't have any way to reset it at this point. Should be right about now. Yeah.
Uh-oh. I haven't seen that image in a long time.
I haven't seen The Shining in a bit. And here we are at the end goal. You can find this place either way, but I usually end up coming here through passing out.
I actually don't know. Do you think it's faster to do the... to pass out? Do you think?
I'm not sure, because there's 3 little factors there. There's the amount of time that you could spend running back and forth to get out all the steps. There's how long it could take to get there just by walking there itself, and then there's how long how much time you could save in the long run by grabbing like that Alexander summon overall.
Yeah.
Either way, this is Holzoff. This is the guy we learned about back in Icicle Inn that's been down here for like 20 years. And he's setting up a little bit of a checkpoint between here and the cliffs to the north of us. And he tried to climb that with some friends, but they have since passed due to the temperature. And he's giving us a little warning that you're going to want to repeatedly raise your body temperature by mashing the square button in the next area. That'll come more into play with the next part.
Who knew that mashing a button would raise your body temperature? Life hacks.
This is also a free in. So in the case you were having some trouble in this part of the game, you could grind in the next area or in the Great Glacier just to get some experience points. But with that, we're going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 22, we'll be briefly heading back into the Great Glacier to grab some last-minute items before heading off into, I believe the next area is called the Cliffs of Gaia?
Yes, that sounds right to me.
Alright, see you guys then.
See you then.